Hello and welcome to another episode of AgilityCast. My name is Alf Obohaile. I'm with CA Technologies. And with me today is my co-host, Rick Morris from R Square Consulting. Good to see you again, Rick.
Hello, everyone.
Today we have the great honor to talk to one of the greater brains when it comes to agile thinking, Scott Ambler, co-creator of the Disciplined Agile Delivery. Disciplined Agile Delivery. Say that 10 times. He's written numerous books, and he has helped numerous corporation organizations to transform, modernize, become better at what they're doing. So it's great to have you here today, Scott. Welcome.
Great, thanks. My privilege being here.
So, Rick, you've worked with Scott for quite a while, and you always seem to come back to an opening statement about the need for software. I work for a company who believes software is going to change the world and that we all technically are software factories. Is that where we're heading?
I think so. And I always look at three things in my consulting business, which is people, process, and technology. And so many people invest with us in CAPPM thinking that the software is going to solve their problems. And I'm always looking at the process, which is why I've been such a huge fan of Scott Ambler. And Scott, so my question to you, so many people come to us and they say, if we buy this software, it's going to solve all of our problems. And with the rise of Agile, I see so many people, saying also, if we go Agile, that's going to solve all of our software delivery problems. What do you say to that?
Yeah, well, no, it's the first answer. Agile certainly helps. And I think you said it well. It really is a people, process, and tools or technology issue. And I think a lot of, if you're looking for a simple answer, there really isn't one. And, a lot of it is about people, but if you don't get the process right, if you don't get your tooling right as well, then you really are sort of in trouble. And I think, and this is complex, and this is a journey. So, like I said, there are no easy answers. You've got to work it, and you need to invest in your people. You need to invest in your environment. You need to invest in your tooling infrastructure. And if you're not willing to do that, then, or want to shortchange that, then I think you're going to run into a lot of trouble, which is probably why you're in a lot of trouble already.
And so that's the new triple constraint, right? Back in project management, we always said it was cost and time and schedule. Really, it's people, process, and technology. And you need to invest in both. Select a great process and a great technology and merge those at the same time. But Agile isn't new, right? This isn't new thinking, but you've done it in such a new way. Describe that journey a little bit for us.
Yeah, so we try to look at the bigger picture, and we are constantly, in the Disciplined Agile Framework, we're constantly trying to answer the question of how does all this stuff fit together? How do all these great ideas coming from the Agile and the Lean folks and the technology vendors and the consultants, how does it all fit together? When do you do each technique? When don't you do each technique? To what extent do you do them? Let's look at the full workflow, and let's look at the full process, and that's hard. This is complex stuff, and like I said, there are no easy answers. And we're often challenged that, this DA framework stuff is pretty complex, and my response is always, well, what would you remove? And then the answer becomes, well, you're missing this, this, and this. Okay, so it's not as complex as it needs to be, is what I just heard. And I think one of the challenges we face as professionals, as organizations, is to embrace this fact that what we do is complex, and that as Alf was saying, software is the game. It is what we are becoming, these software organizations, and software, and more importantly, the solutions that the software is part of, is absolutely critical. We got to get good at this stuff, and this is complex, and we have to embrace that complexity and deal with it. And that's exactly what we're trying to do in the DA framework. We give people choices, and we help walk people through, here's the issues you need to think about. Here's these process goals, these process outcomes that you want to achieve. Here are your decision points, what you need to think about. And here are a bunch of good options and the trade-offs that you're making. And so choose intelligently for you. So every team is unique. Every organization is unique. So you will make different and unique choices reflecting the situation you're currently in. And because as your situation evolves, so will your choices, and so will your process, so will the way that you organize yourselves. And so it requires flexibility, it requires skill, it requires great collaboration and people who want to work together and learn from each other and experiment and figure it out as they go. And this is a very new animal to a lot of organizations, and it can be overwhelming, but it's the nature of the beast that we face.
So let's be clear. Agile is not a fad diet. It's not something you undertake for 6 weeks and poof, you're done and everything's awesome. This is a journey that requires an effort and a commitment to the long term.
Exactly. Yeah. This is a long-term journey. It will never end. This is one of the really neat things about it, I guess, but also one of the frustrating things about it. So yeah, if you think it's a project that you can get it done in 6 weeks or 6 months or, whatever your magic number is, I guarantee you are completely and utterly wrong about that. And if you read any of the case studies, if you listen to any of the TED Talks on this and good stuff like that, everybody is clear about this. This is a long-term journey. They might start thinking that it's a project, but they quickly figure out that it's not, and that improvement and learning and experimentation has to become a way of life. And this is not what your existing culture might want to hear, but once again, it's the reality that we face.
Well, Scott, you're a legend in this industry. We're humbled that you would even spend a few minutes with us. How do people get in touch with you and find you?
Yeah, I'm pretty easy to get a hold of, actually. As you know, I've written numerous books. My focus in the last few years is, of course, been on the Disciplined Agile Framework. But yeah, you can get a hold of me at scottambler.com, at disciplinedagiledelivery.com, at disciplinedagileconsortium.org. Just do a quick Google search for me, I guess. And yeah, I'm pretty easy to find. My organization, we help companies around the world to get better and to learn and to move forward.
And you and I just spent an hour together on the work-life balance, so you can Google that and hear an hour of Scott and I talking as well.
Great. That's a great conversation.
I was just going to ask, we focus a lot about software. Whether your expertise is in that IT area or not, is Agile in general and your twist on it, does that lend itself to marketing, to planning outside of IT and software development? Is the Agile way or the Disciplined Agile Delivery way, is there something that can be more, homogeneically spread across an entire organization?
Yes, it is. And yes, I am twisted, which is why I have a twist on things. But anyways, yeah. So one of the things we talk about in the Disciplined Agile Framework is 4 levels. So Disciplined Agile Delivery, which is how do you approach software development, but then of course Disciplined DevOps. So how do you actually do DevOps in an enterprise class setting? And then Disciplined Agile IT, because there's more to IT than DevOps. And I think the DevOps community is starting to learn that. We're starting to see inklings of, there's a bigger picture out here than what we've been talking about. And then of course the overall enterprise itself. So how do you approach marketing? How do you approach people management, talent management, HR stuff? How do you approach control? Control, governance, whatever you want to call that. How do you approach business operations? Like how does the organization, how do the business people leverage IT in order to win the race? And this, I think, is absolutely critical. So, and this is part of being disciplined at looking beyond the rhetoric of the Agile community and to realize there's more to Agile than just software development. One of my colleagues recently bumped into the recent issue of Harvard Business Review, which has a pretty good article about Agile marketing. And they've had previous good articles about other applications of Agile far beyond software development. So I think we really do need to look at this bigger picture if we want to be successful. In Disciplined Agile, we like to point out that, you've built these great Agile software development teams, these racing car engines, but if you plunk it into an organizational tractor, it doesn't really matter. You're still going to lose the race, and you really need to look at the bigger picture and evolve your entire organization, your entire process, your entire staff. And if you're not willing to do that, and that's hard. I'm not saying that is easy, but this is the reality, and we need to embrace that.
Rick, thank you very much, Scott. I really appreciate it. And now it's time for Rick's Corner, when we look at books and apps and other fun stuff.
Yeah, so Alf, I just came back last week from spending a week with my friend and mentor, John Maxwell. And so my book this week is a John Maxwell book. 25 years ago, he took a new twist on leadership. He was one of the first authors ever to start thinking about leaders could be developed. And really in the early 90s, it was all about management. And now everything's about leadership. And he was one of the first to really do that. And 25 years ago, a book came out called Developing the Leader Within You. And just last week, that book was rewritten, and it's now Developing the Leader Within You 2.0. And what's interesting is he was contracted to rewrite this book, and he was just going to review it. He rewrote 89% of this book. And what's great about that was his own admission. So do you have the same beliefs you had 25 years ago? And neither does he. He's grown in the last 25 years. And we got an opportunity to be mentored by this book and hear how he mentors people about this book. And it is incredible. And I think one of the greatest thing that project managers, agilists, any business leader really needs to understand is how to influence people, their circle of influence, and really work with people and grow their leadership. And so if you're looking for that book to help develop the leader within you, this is the book for you.
I've talked a lot about the doomsday last week, but now I want to focus on the more positive of the new world, and that is the reusability. I had some days off, and we were down in LA with the kids at Universal Studios, and 6 a.m. in the morning waiting for the car. I see this SpaceX Falcon Heavy thing takes over my head, and I saw those thruster falls off, and I realized they reused that monster that flew over my head over and over and over. And this reusing is nothing new, right? It's something we see in virtualization. It's something we see in coding. It's something we see in 3D printing nowadays. They have reusable material. Your mother told you to reuse the toothbrush until it really broke. Well, at least mine did. We were poor. But when I look at what we do in project management and software and planning and so on in general, we seldom reuse components. We start from scratch every time. It's like we throw out a whole wardrobe. We don't take the same plans and reuse them. Don't use the same templates. We don't have the created team that we can, as components, put them where we want. We don't have the same budget. It is like a restart every time. And I'm wondering, if we can't learn from what's happening in a world of sustainability in our own work, we need to start a movement. There's a sustainable work where we don't reinvent the wheel every day. If we can say spaceships to Mars that can be reused, I'm sure we can do something like that in our daily work. That's my rant for this week. Again, we want to thank Scott Ambler for joining us, Rick Morris from R Square Consulting, my co-host, and we'll be back next month for another great episode of AgilityCast. Until then, take care, be safe. Bye-bye.